All right, tell us a little bit about yourself, though. I mean, you from Morocco, go through Belgium. Did you always want to play soccer?
Yeah, so I started off pretty young. So I think I was 4 years old when I kicked the ball for the first time in a club setting. My older brother used to play, and that's kind of how I rolled into it and never looked back. So it's been, I think, 22 years now that I play. But my dad is from Morocco, but I was born and raised in Belgium, close from Bruges. That's also the academy that I used to play for before I came to the US. So yeah, that's kind of my backstory.
And talk about coming to the U.S., though. I mean, went to Boston College and you transferred to Creighton. What was it like in 2016 when you decided to come to the States to play soccer?
It was a big change. I think I just decided that I wanted to pursue a degree while still playing soccer on a high level. So I chose the college route and then ended up in Boston College. Had 2 good years there, and thought for myself that I wanted to pursue a professional career after I was done. So I transferred to Creighton University, where I thought I had more looks, more chances, and ended up in the draft. And then I ended up graduating in 2019 at Creighton University, and pursued my professional career after that.
Talk about winding up in Hartford. We talked to a lot of the guys from Hartford Athletic, and you guys are from all over the world and stuff. And then they throw you together. How long does it take for you guys to gel, not just personality wise, but game wise?
I think that's always something that if you're in the locker room, that it feels different. I think than looking at it from the outside, because if you think about it, we all have something in common. Most of us leave our families, come from different parts of the world, and go somewhere by themselves. So you have that in common. So that is naturally you'll start to bond quicker, in my opinion. And then you all obviously have the same passion, which is soccer for us. So that goes a lot easier than people would think. But obviously it needs some team bonding, and it needs a little bit of time to really get adjusted to each other. But yeah, that's all going good.
Talking to Younes Boudadi, the defenseman for the Hartford Athletic. Big result last weekend, finally getting something good to happen this season in 2022. A shutout against Loudoun, 1-0. What happens when you get a shutout besides the goalie? Does the defenseman get a drink bought for him, or for the whole side on that side of the ball? Getting a shutout's got to be pretty cool as far as how this season has started to finally get a win on the board.
100%. And I think, getting that clean sheet was something that we've been trying to get for a while too. And it's definitely a confidence booster. We've been getting a little unlucky, and sometimes when things don't go your way, there's little bounces and moments in the game that don't go your way for a longer time. But we always kind of agreed that the tide would turn. And I think last weekend was a big weekend for us. Finally, we got the win with, the crowd behind us. They're always there to support us. So we definitely appreciate that. So we're trying to build off that now and give us a similar performance tomorrow.
Younes, talk about when you were younger, 17U, 19U. What's it like to be on those travel teams, and how competitive is it?
When you mean when I was still in Belgium?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I played for an academy, Club Bruges, for 13 years. And Belgium is smaller than the US. So if you have an away game, it was a 1-hour trip for the bus. We play and we come back home. So it wasn't really the same setting as it is in the US. But the academy system was very competitive. It's something that has stayed with me, and it's something that I pride myself in, kind of bringing the work rate every day. And then kind of taking the lessons that I learned in Europe and trying to implement them here in Hartford.
Do you think that academies like that, whether it be soccer, baseball, or anything, you think it would help the athletes here in the United States?
Well, there's pros and cons to both sides, I think. I feel like in Belgium, or in Europe in general, there's a lot of talents that come through the academy systems, but it's also a flip side to it where 95%, or I would even say a higher percentage on that, don't end up signing a professional contract, but they totally chose the route of pursuing that professional contract. Whereas in the US, I feel like there's a lot of players that come to the college route, and they have a dream to play professionally, but if that day doesn't come, then at least they have something to fall back on. So I think there's pros and cons to both systems. A little bit more risk in Europe to that aspect, but I feel like everyone has a personal choice in pursuing what they think is best for them in their career.
Kickoff 7 o'clock Saturday night. New York Red Bulls 2 in town at the Dill, now known as Trinity Health Stadium. You see this guy playing defense, Younes Boudadi. Younes, now how does it work for New York Red Bulls, New York Red Bulls 2? Because you played New York Red Bulls out of the MLS and the Open Cup just a couple of weeks ago. And I don't know if you were involved in any of the skirmishes that happened that game, but I will call it very cheeky in the second half of that game, sir. Now, is there any carryover between clubs of New York Red Bulls 1, New York Red Bulls 2, and that particular U.S. Open Cup and how it got heated? Is there any carryover for tomorrow night in the way that U.S. Open Cup ended?
Well, I feel like the games that I've been a part of in Hartford and playing against Red Bulls, they're always very intense. They have a playing style that kind of demands that. They recruit for athletes. They run at you. They try to make it a little chippy. But I don't think, we're all athletes and all professionals competing at the highest level. So sometimes the emotions get a little high. But that's what I like about the game as well. But they have similar playing styles, Red Bulls 2 in the first team, so they play under the same style. So from that aspect, it will be a pretty similar game. But obviously there'll be different players on the side as a USL on the left side.
How do you like the pitch here in Hartford?
I've been used on playing turf for a long time, so I don't really have an issue with it. I think it's pretty good to play on. It's a little hard sometimes. Obviously, grass is a little better for the joints, and when you get older, everything starts to hurt a little bit more. But I don't have any issue with the turf here.
What about the skip? Like the ball running a little bit different on the turf. Is it something that some soccer players just are not used to? The difference in how the ball moves and reacts on that kind of surface.
Yeah, if you play on a grass field, the ball will skip a little faster, and if it's dry on turf, the ball will stick a little more. So you have to get used to that a little bit if you don't play on turf often. But the groundkeepers here at Hartford do a great job in making sure that the field is nice and wet before the game, so we don't have that issue. So we can play our attracting style of football where the ball moves fast.
Are you more partial towards Belgian food or Moroccan food, and can you find any around Hartford?
Oh, I love Moroccan food. I love the Mediterranean food, and a place that I like to go that kind of gives me those meals that I like from the Mediterranean area is Zohara. It's in West Hartford. So if anyone wants to try some Mediterranean food, I think that's a great spot to go.
I know exactly where you're talking about. I've gone there often. What about American food? What's something that you tell everybody back home that, like, oh man, you don't know what you're missing over here in the States? They got this.
Maybe wings. You guys have some good wings here. So I think that'll be the one. I think that'll be one. Chicken wings.
What about beer? We got a lot of craft beer here.
Oh, we can't compete. You're asking a dude from Belgium.
I know. Well, I have to because he's from Belgium. He's got to be a connoisseur of some beer.
Yeah, no, I love a beer. I love a good beer once in a while. And I'm from Belgium, so it would be a shame if I wouldn't appreciate that once in a while.
Oh, you can see this guy in the backside of the defense, Younes Boudadi. One thing I always wonder is what the goalie is yelling at the defense, because it seems like it's very intense, especially with the Hartford Athletic. What is he yelling at you guys all about?
Oh, goalies are crazy. But they have to be intense. They're the first line of defense. So they have to, and they see everything better. They have a better overview of the whole field, so they're just trying to keep us sharp for 90 minutes so we can get a clean sheet. It's very important for him too. That's what he's kind of doing, just directing us left, right, if you have to step, if you have to drop in a certain moments, keeping us sharp. So they do a great job, all our goalies in that.
Younes, good luck against the Red Bull on Saturday. We appreciate your time, buddy, and we'll talk to you soon.